crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's tutorial, you're going to learn how to cut out stamped images using your Brother ScanNCut SDX125. The stamp set we'll be using is called Merry Moose, and it is from the Stampin Up 2019 Holiday Catalog. Alright, let's get started. I will do several videos, just so you know, on Merry Moose. So today we're not actually going to cut out the moose. I'm going to cut out these trees, the present, the scarf, the hat, what else? The raccoon, okay? That's what I'm gonna do today. That's a lot of things to cut out, right? There's not a lot of tricks to these, but we will use different colors, and the colors I've chosen are gonna go along with the themes of the cards that I'm gonna be showing you. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Little Tree here. I'm gonna stick the tree onto Stampin' Block. Let's see, I don't know why I don't memorize this. D, Stampin' Block D. I'm going to use Whisper White cardstock. Notice I have my sponge down here. I stamp on a sponge. And it just helps it give it a good clean image. I'm going to use shaded spruce because why not, right? It's like a Christmas tree. And it also matches the colors that I'm trying to go for in my theme. Okay, I'm going to just tap, tap, tap. Make sure I get good ink absorption. And I'm going to stamp on there. Okay, it's pretty dark, so you can stamp a second one. And then you'll be able to cut out one tree that's dark and one tree that's light. If you don't want it to be quite so light, then what you could do is use your mat. I'm just using grid paper. The grid paper doesn't have good ink absorption. In other words, it's not like the Whisper White. So when you stamp onto the mat, and then you stamp onto the Whisper White, it's a little bit darker, but not as light as that one. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time just so you see what I'm talking about. If I stamp onto Whisper White, and then I stamp it again, it becomes pretty light because Whisper White has good ink absorption. But if I stamp onto a plain piece of paper, and then onto here, it's a little bit darker. Okay, so now you have a few different shades of trees for your projects. Oh, I'm not closing that one. I am going to just peel my image off and get another image. But of course I would clean my stamp. We're not going to clean the stamps right now. I've shown that in other tutorials. I'm going to get my bigger tree. And still, Stampin' Block D. Everything in this set will fit on Stampin' Block D. All of the sentiments, all of the images. Okay, so we'll do a couple trees. So again, just tap, tap, tap. Okay, one tree, one more tree, a couple big trees. Let's see, we'll do one more sort of medium tree. We'll just stamp onto the mat, my grid paper, and then stamp onto my Whisper White. Okay, so we have a few trees in different shades. It's nice to use coordinating colors. Okay, now we're going to use, so I'm going to close my shaded spruce. Done with that. I'm going to use Real Red. Real Red stains your stamps, but that's okay. It's no problem. Your stamps are just as good as ever. I'm going to stamp the scarf for the moose. And that's the only thing I'm going to make in Real Red. Okay, that's the only thing I'm going to stamp in Real Red. Okay, maybe just a couple of those. Oops, my stamp case was in the way there, and it still came out okay. All right, good. Now notice it just stains, but no problem. But you do want to wipe that off before you do your next stamp. Let me get my baby wipe. Only because I don't want it to get onto anything else. Now the reason you can use regular colors is because you're not going to be coloring these stamped images. So when you're going to be coloring a stamped image, you want to use Memento Black, okay? And so like this little raccoon in the present, we'll put the little raccoon on there. I'm coloring him with the Stampin' Blends. Now if I was coloring him with watercolors, I would use archival ink or something like StazOn. But I'm going to be coloring him with Stampin' Blends markers. Okay, so therefore I'm using Memento Black ink. So let's close the Real Red. This is the one I get all over myself. And let's move this sponge over a little bit to the right side. Okay, Memento Black ink, Whisper White cardstock, Tap, tap, tap. The little raccoon. Good coverage. Okay, stamp a couple of those. He's nice. He's on a little log. And later I'm coloring him with crumb cake and smoky slate. All right, so then the presents, I should have done my first time around, and I saw these later, and I know where to add these to one of my current projects. I like these little presents, and I thought, these are great. I'm going to color them. You can't see them yet, but let's make... The first time you stamp something, you have to add a little bit extra ink. That's the first time I'm using this stamp. Perfect. So I saw these presents, and I thought, oh, I made this... One of the things I'm going to be showing you is a Z-fold card I made. And when you make Z-fold cards, they have like a lot of surface area you got to cover. So you need extra little embellishments. So I'm just making a bunch of these. Okay, so there you go. So now we have, and everything except my little hat. I want to make the hat while we're at it. So there's a little hat for the moose that he puts on his head. So we'll put that, the tiny little hat. And I'm just going to do that while I'm at it. So there's, I just mounted the hat and just use whatever areas. Now I can't use that area in the top corner because I was using it to adjust my blade. I'm still trying to get the perfect alignment for my stamped images. It's not quite as aligned as I'd like it to be, but I can't use that corner because there's a big cross there. And I also want to use the top of the mat because I like 12x6 scanning. It doesn't take as long. So I'm just going to put a couple hats down here. And if your hat's not completely enclosed, it might not recognize, but that's okay. We'll put one over here. In which case you have to just get your little marker and sort of enclose the line or a pencil. But I think we have everything we need. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and clean up this area for a second, so then I'll show you how to get this to stick onto your mat. This piece of Whisper White. All right, so we clean that up, get rid of the ink. So you have a mat, and I've already restuck my mat recently. Here's something I was doing. I'll be showing you in a future tutorial how to cut acetate, but let's get rid of that. So basically, okay, you put your Whisper White. I've restuck my mat. Let me let you listen to this. Hear that sound of stickiness? I was using two-way glue, and I have a video on resticking your mat. So anyway, that's pretty sticky, so all I have to do is use my fingers to rub on there. But they do have, the Brother has a brayer. And I like to do this if my ink was dry. I would like to use this to help get that paper to stick onto your mat. And if you have painter's tape, you can use it while you're cutting to help stick your paper to your mat. But don't use it now because I don't want to cover these registration marks. All right, so let's go. Sorry for shaking my camera. I am going to pull my machine closer so you don't miss any steps. I'm going to move all my pencil holder to the floor and tilt my camera here. So now what we're gonna do next is we're gonna load the mat. We're gonna scan in the images. We're gonna recognize the images. We're gonna cut them out with an outline distance because that's what I prefer. Okay, so I'm just gonna load it before I bring the camera any closer. So you can't see that part, don't worry. I don't want anything to move. Okay, so what I did, just so you don't miss any steps in case you're new to the Scan and Cut, is all I did out of the view of the camera is I used this button to load the mat. Okay, I like how you can actually tilt your little viewer down. That's all I did. So I've loaded the mat, and now you see scan and you see pattern. I always want scan when I'm scanning and cutting. Hey, that's why I bought the machine, to scan and cut. I want direct cut. This is asking where do you temporarily want to store your data? On the machine. Or you could use wireless, but I'm just going to say store it on the machine. I stamped everything on the top half of the mat. Therefore, I can use 12x6 recognition mode. If you want to change it, you can change it to 12x12. If you're using a Scan and Cut 2 or CM360, you can't change it. You have to scan 12x12. Really, it's just the time saver. That's why I like 12x6 scanning. Also, even though I have colored images right now, I've colored the Christmas trees, the holiday trees will be politically correct, right? I've colored the the trees, I've colored the scarves, everything, right? I've colored them. But I'm not going to use color recognition mode. I'm still using black and white recognition mode. Okay, and we're just going to say start. Black and white recognition mode is good when you have good contrast between the foreground and the background. It's asking me to lift the layer. Don't worry, it's not really that I'm using thick material. It's just seeing those top corners. So I just say start again. And I set the scanner lever to 2. Only because it wanted me to set it to 2 because it thinks it's thicker, and it's not really thicker. When you set your scanning lever to 2, which you won't need to do if your paper is tight on your mat, it just makes the scanner plate go a little bit higher and get out of the way of the thicker paper. I don't really have thicker paper, but I used my Whisper White to align, and that's why those little crosses made it look thicker. All right, so let's see what we have here. We're going to say okay and see what we have. We have yes, 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 100% success rate. That means that everything I scanned in was recognized. Awesome, awesome. So I want to add an outline distance. What that will look like is when you add an outline distance, my tree will not be cut right along the branches. It's going to add this little white outline around the outside. I like that. That's a personal preference. If you just want to cut out everything as is, then simply cut right now. Don't do what I'm doing. I get asked this all the time. You do not have to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to teach you to do things. Find any stamp set that you have and follow along with whatever stamp set you have and whatever your personal preferences are. So my personal preference is to add an outline distance. So we say, okay, we add the outline distance, right here. That was that little circle. My smallest outline distance is 0.04. That's the smallest one I can add, which is fine, except that I'm going to show you something else later. I would like it to even be smaller sometimes, but we're going to say okay for 0.04 outline distance. That's that white area. Now, I need to edit out 2 things. There's the crosshairs that were left there from when I tried to align my machine. And there's this other little remnant. There's a little, I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's just say edit. I'm going to zoom in and show you. That's not supposed to be there. Oh, that's the other crosshair. That's what that is. Okay, see that? That's not supposed to be there. I'm going to click on it. I zoomed in. I'm going to click the trash. Say okay. And there is another one. I want to click on that and put the trash. And interestingly enough, that one that wasn't fully enclosed, that hat down there, it did recognize. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to say okay. So we have everything we want to cut. We're going to select cut. And we're going to select start, and it's going to take 7 minutes. But I have some other settings that I need to go back to auto. Yours should say auto right now. I was cutting glitter earlier, acetate, different things. So let me just go back to show you how to get back to that. Cut speed. I'm going to go back to, it should be automatic or the ones that are in the black boxes. You see what I'm saying? You can't, look at the black box. Watch the black box. And look when I go down to auto. There's auto. And I don't know if speed has an auto, but I just like to mess with my settings. And I don't think it does. But if it doesn't have an auto, it doesn't. Speed doesn't have an auto, but it has a default. Okay, defaults are what's in the black boxes. Okay, so if you want to get into every single setting on this entire machine, SDX125, this past August, oh, actually in July, well, and really in June, I spent the entire summer creating a course on the SDX125. So check that out. It'll be linked in the description of this video. I go over what all these settings are. Bottom line for you is that if you look at something that's with a black box around it, that is the default setting. I needed to change them back to default. The black, so speed should be 5 and cut pressure should be auto. When I'm cutting stamped images, always use your default settings. See? Auto, default. You don't want to use my settings because I used higher settings earlier because I was cutting glitter and acetate. All right, but you're just cutting paper or cardstock, so use your default settings. I'm going to say start, and then I'm going to edit this video later, and I'll just see you in the next part of the video. I'm not going to make you wait 5 minutes for it to cut. But do stick around because after it cuts, I will show you how to peel them off the mat and how I created the projects using these images that we're cutting out. See you soon. now that our stamped images are finished cutting, we're going to say okay. We're going to click on unload the mat. We're going to say okay. I'm going to go ahead and make some room on my table. Let's move that all the way back there. Okay, if you want to order this stamp set or anything I'm showing you, my website is right here, paperedchef.stampinup.net. And so I will leave that back into the view in a minute because we're all about getting these off the mat now. All right, so I want to show you how to get these off the mat. So just peel your Whisper White. First, peel your Whisper White off. I love the sound of a sticky mat. In fact, I'll link in this description because I don't know why everyone's not just using search, but I will link this. I will link in here because when I mention a video, then everyone says, "Can you give me the link to the video?" But if you search for resticking your mat, making your Brother ScanNCut mat sticky, I have a few videos on that. But I will still link it for you because I want to make everything easier for my viewers. Okay, so anyway, what you're doing is, see, you're using the little spatula to peel these off the mat. So that's one way to get them off the mat. Beautiful trees. And another way is just to bend them out a little bit. Well, that's when it's not so sticky. See, bend them out a little bit and they just kind of peel right off too. Okay, so we have all of these really cool things. Now, I wanted to show you where I'm going to be using those presents to finish one of my projects. I don't need to show you how to take every image off the mat, especially if you've been following my channel. What I need to show you is what do you do with all these things? Well, first of all, the stamp set itself. I'm going to just show you what the Stampin' Up! Has come up with for the stamp set. I want to show you what product coordinates with it, and then I'm going to show you the projects I just created using the concepts that I'm showing you. So first off, our holiday catalog. When you look in our holiday catalog, at the front of the catalog, you'll see all the things you can save 10% on, and they're called bundles. So you look in the front of it catalog, and it'll say Merry Moose Bundle is on page 27. So what's a bundle? A bundle is when you get a stamp set and a punch, or a stamp set and dies together. Okay, so that's a pretty cool scene. All they did for this one was use the silhouette of the silhouette stamp. They used that silhouette stamp and then they used the punch. So it's pretty cool. That's how they did that one. Okay, and then I'm going to show you what they came up with in here. So here's the Merry Moose page, page 27. Okay, here we are on the page 27. Merry Moose. Okay, now here's what Stampin' Up! Artists came up with. And you see how they stamped the trees in the background. So this is a great stamp set just for making nice scenery. Okay, well there's a punch that coordinates, like, and I'm going to show you that. Like, you can get the 10% off if you get the punch as well. And to tell you the truth, I think the punch does a better job than the Scan and Cut when cutting out Mr. Moose. I have examples to show you so you can see for yourself. And I'm all about using the right tool for the job. I don't care whether it's the Brother ScanNCut or a punch, but I'm going to use the right tool for the job. Okay, and so here's what I'm going to show you. But there are other advantages to having a Scan and Cut. All right, so when you have a Scan and Cut, let me just start with the Scan and Cut on the top. You can cut out Mr. Moose without the outline distance. And that's good for making a mask, which we'll do in a future video, I hope. I hope I can get to it. It's scheduled. Okay, and then this one, and what I mean by mask is like when you want to just color in the moose but not the background, or color in the background but not the moose. Okay, so that's good for cutting right along the line. When you cut your stamped image with your Scan and Cut, it's really nice because you get a nice outline distance. And then you can also just cut it out the same way as you would cut out a punch. Okay, in fact, when you cut the punch or you cut the outline distance, it's exactly identical, almost identical. See? Now the bottom I'm showing you is the Scan and Cut. So I need to kind of probably put these side by side. I apologize for not mounting these first, but I really need them for projects I'm about to send out. I'm going to like the post office today. All right, see the bottom, see these two. These two I have colored. I cut out these bottom ones using the Moose Punch. Notice the outline distance is not as big as the outline distance when you cut with your Scan and Cut. So I personally like the Moose Punch better. Okay, I like it better than using the Scan and Cut for the moose. It's a personal preference. But there are reasons you'd want to use the Scan and Cut with your moose, and that is to do some nice cool layering. So you can get one without the outline distance. You can't do that with the punch, right? And I wrote S for Scan and Cut. Let me just flip that over. Now look at him. In fact, let me put him on a different color. All these bottom shapes I cut out with the punch. And it's nice because you can use foil. You can cut through foil paper. And you can make mooses? I guess mooses plural. You can make them go in different directions when you use double-sided cardstock. Okay, let me show you this. If I were to use a Scan and Cut without an outline distance and then the Moose Punch or just an outline distance, check this out. You can do some super cool layering that you can't do with just the stamp set and punch. So, I mean, there are advantages to having the Scan and Cut. So I hope that makes sense. So for the moose, here, I'm going to take everything off of here and show you. So you see nothing else. Maybe that'll help. If you want to cut out the moose with the Scan and Cut, you're welcome to. My personal, that you'll get what's on the left with an outline distance. On the right, you'll get what the punch does. I prefer on the right what the punch does. Okay, then I used the blends. I used crumb cake blends to color them in. Okay, and then for the scarf, I showed you what that is, cut out in Poppy Parade. The little hats, I colored in, I'm about to show you my projects, the hats with real red. Okay, so I use, not Poppy, this is real red glimmer paper. Okay, and then I used, for these little raccoons, and I always do a bunch to color at once. Look how many I've already cut out. The raccoons, I used Smoky Slate and Crumb Cake. Okay, good. I'm focusing in so you can see that better. Now I'm going to get all my projects. I have to go to the other side of my table. I'll be right back. I'm coming. All right. So first are the bookmarks or tags or whatever you want to call them. Okay, and so I just used the crumb cake, dark and light crumb cake blends. And I'll show you how to color, different ways to color in a future video, hopefully. Look at the Wink of Stella. That's the glitter. I used shimmery red cardstock and then I used glitter on the raccoon and glitter, Wink of Stella glitter. Okay, on the other, on the log and the moose. Okay, another tag, same thing. I'm making those to send out as part of a sampler. Or, you know, some people will get that if they ordered from me. They're going to get a whole sample and stuff. All right. That was a special I had going on. All right. This is a card I made. And this is this Let It Snow Designer Series paper in the background. That's what this is. Real red cardstock. Shimmery, glimmery paper. I use punches, but I taught you how to use a Scan and Cut in a recent video on how to make these sentiments with the Scan and Cut. And hopefully I just keep reinforcing these concepts in future videos. I can't show everything in every video, so I hope that you will just, if you really want to get really down in the weeds and delve deeper into settings, you'll take my courses. Okay, this is the Merry Moose Munch. So the reason I thought of this idea, it's actually Crunch and Munch. You know Crunch and Munch, right? The caramel covered popcorn with peanuts. I love Crunch and Munch, but they also call it Moose Munch, and you kind of have to spend a lot of money when you buy the Moose Munch, but you can make it yourself too. So just look up recipes for making caramel covered popcorn. I used the shimmery cardstock, the shimmery red, real red, and then I used the spruce tree we just cut out from the Scan and Cut. This moose was cut out from the Scan and Cut, you can tell, because look at the bigger white outline distance, then this one has a thinner outline distance. This moose was cut out with the punch. The raccoon was cut out with the Scan and Cut. Notice the difference. When you cut it out with the Scan and Cut, you get a bigger outline distance. I didn't think he needed the little Santa hat because there was already red behind him. And I got the washi tape, the shimmery glittery washi tape from the Let It Snow embellishment kit. I'll have a link to all of my materials in the description of this video. So please click on those links because I get asked all the time, where's the link? Where's the link? And here's my favorite project. I always like to save my favorite project for last. And this is when I said I needed that little present to add to this project. So I'm going to be adding the present to this is a Z-fold card. It's a mini Z-fold card. It's not a full card. But a Z-fold card means that you can stand it up. Let me make some room and just show you. And it means that when you give someone a card, they can stand it up on their table. and they can have like a little Christmas scene that they can look at. And that's what's really nice about them. And you always sort of hold them together with a little piece of designer series paper or cardstock on the outside. So that's the way a Z-fold card, you mail it to someone flat like a regular card. You mail it flat, and then when they open it, they can stand it up. It becomes a little work of art. So I said I need some more little things on it. So this is, I need some glitter on him and Mary Moose. This is a small Z-fold card, so I didn't have room to put a little background behind the Mary Moose. I have the little trees in the different shades, the little raccoon. I'm going to put the presents there. The presents we just cut out. And then I did some glimmery trees for this one. And I just used the silhouette of a blueberry bushel moose right there. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the projects and all that you can do with the Scan and Cut when you combine that to the Mary Moose stamp set. That's all for now. This is the Paper Chef.